Every second, somewhere in the world, a genius is born. They come to us with a dream, a destiny, and a desire to make an impact. Their words and ideas have the power to move and motivate strangers, the power to rattle the skies and shake the moon. And for the past 24 years, I have the honor and privilege of being their teacher. What I love most about 5-year-olds is how fiercely and fully they own their genius. Whether you're sitting with them in a classroom or you're standing next to them in the grocery line, in 10 seconds or less, they will come up to you and tell you who they are, what they know, and most importantly, how they can help you. You didn't realize until that moment how desperately you needed a dinosaur expert or a dancer or an artist. But they knew. They knew something that we have forgotten, that you were created for significance, that you have something that someone in the world needs, and only you can deliver. I know that at one time you believed that too, that you cherished your gifts and you relished your abilities. You dreamed, you dared, you created, and somewhere between grade school and grad school, you chose to hide your genius, to not reveal who you are and what you were truly capable of to the world. You hesitated, you held back, and you stopped thinking big and started acting small. You cannot afford to do that in a world so desperately needing your superpower. It is not only your opportunity to change your life, it is your opportunity to change the world. And we'll make the case today that it is your duty. If you believe in this statement, you are a genius, and the world needs your contribution. I know this is a bit difficult to take in. My friend and neuroscientist Rebel Brown says that by the time we're 17 years old, we have heard "we can't" 150,000 times, and "we can" only 5,000. And I'm guessing right now that very few of us have ever heard this, that you must, that you are needed, that your genius is expected now. We have a duty to change that.
Exactly 87 days ago today, I returned from my latest deployment to Afghanistan. I'm glad and grateful to be here today with my friend Angela as we now move out in our shared mission to liberate the untapped talent that exists across the world. You know, for 27 years, I've been privileged to wear the cloth of the nation. As a member of the United States Air Force, I've taken part in virtually every campaign, from Desert Shield to Desert Storm to Operation Enduring Freedom, and to most recently being afforded the privilege of leading NATO's effort to build a sustainable, capable, and independent Afghan Air Force. What I've seen consistently throughout my career in leading organizations at all levels is that when people show up and they freely offer their very unique and very best talents, skills, and abilities, their unique genius, incredible things start to happen. Matter of fact, I am so compelled by this idea that I believe with all my heart the importance of our finding a way to tap the untapped potential that exists across America is every bit as important as our ongoing fight to defeat ISIS, Ebola, and to get our arms around an ever-growing national debt. Now, right about now, you're saying, whoa, General, that is a really bold claim. Well, I will tell you, the reason I'm confident in making a statement like that is the fact that the widespread apathy, complacency, and sense of disengagement that exists at all levels of our society is having a profoundly negative effect on many of us. Matter of fact, I suspect some of you in this room are very aware of Gallup's latest research, which confirms that at this very moment, 71% of every single worker in the workforce is disengaged. What that translates to is $550 billion a year, billion, is lost in productivity in the US economy. When you take those numbers now and you apply them to a global workforce, they jump to 86%. Here's a statistic you may not know. At the same time, studies report that the level of disengagement in young people by the time they're 18 years old has exceeded 56% in schools. More than half of our young people quit believing in themselves and in their dreams. Now, unfortunately, the sad truth is we live in the most medicated, depressed, sedated society in history. A report was recently released that spoke to the fact that of the individuals in the 40 to 50-year-old age bracket, suicide rate has increased by 50% in 10 years. At a time when people should be giving their greatest contribution, they feel hopelessly lost and disconnected. Now, what's interesting about this is it doesn't have to be this way. The fact of the matter is everything we need to actually liberate the innate genius is already within us. It's around us. It's invisible in plain sight. Do me a favor for a second. Close your eyes and think back to when you were 5 years old. When we're 5, we live in a world of possibilities. Anything is imaginable. We actually are magnificent little miniature versions of what we could be. And then, however, during that time of great possibility and imagination, and something starts to happen. Between grade school and grad school, things shift dramatically. The slide behind me reflects a massive study that was done by a very prominent university. They looked at 20,000 young people through adults, and they asked a very simple but profound question. And that question hinged on the notion that what is our sense of belief in our ability to use our influence to make the world better than we found it? Do we believe we, as individuals, can make a profoundly positive difference in our surroundings? Well, 5-year-olds are not confused. They absolutely believe that whatever, they are game on. They know that they have an immense potential within them. However, you can see by the time we're young adults, that sense of possibility, that sense, that superpower that's within us has largely been squeezed out. Here's what's interesting about all of this. At 5 years old, we are clear-eyed about what we need from those around us to reach our potential. And the best part about it is we're still brave enough to ask. Do you remember the dialogue? It went something like this. I want people in my life who are generous with me. We know if we're going to stretch and grow that we're going to fall down. We want to know that failure isn't fatal. We want to know that someone will be there to pick us up and give us another chance. At the same time, I want people in my life when I'm 5 years old who will empower me. We know life is a journey. We need people to equip us. We need people who will coach us. We need people who will believe and mentor us. At the same time, I want people in my life when I'm 5 years old who will notice me. The late, great Dale Carnegie was fond of reminding us that the sweetest words any person can ever hear is the sound of their own name. This speaks to the fundamental human truth that we want to know that we have value, that we matter, that we have significance. At the same time, each and every one of us longs to have someone in our lives who will inspire us. The research is overwhelming. The number one way in which we learn and grow is by watching others. We want positive role models in our life. We want people to show us what it looks like to see excellence personified. We want people around us who will understand us. In a society that is so quick to speak and so poor at listening, we all yearn to have our voice heard. We want to know that our ideas matter. We want to know that the things we have to offer the world are important. And last, but certainly not least, we want people who will stretch us. We know the only way to grow into the person we're capable of becoming is if someone will allow us to move out in new and novel ways. We know that the world is fantastic if we have people who will support us in creating, in innovating, and in experimenting. Now, this simple cycle that I've just shared with you, interestingly, is so profoundly positive and powerful because we are wired this way at our DNA. From the time that we are conceived, we want these fundamental things so that we can grow into the full potential that's already within us. It is a psychological, emotional, biological need. Now, I know right about now you're like, okay, I might need just a little more proof. So what we did is we set out and we've done our own surveys. What you see behind me is we went on a countrywide 500,000 young person child survey. And they were from all walks of life, from all socioeconomic backgrounds, and we asked one profoundly powerful question. What would make you run to school? And this is what they said. Now, not satisfied with merely understanding what young people wanted, we went out into the workforce. We asked 7,000 different individuals in the workforce a similar question. We said, what would make you run to work? What you see are their responses. Do you notice a similarity between the two? You probably should. The fact of the matter is, we as human beings all want and need the same fundamental things if our greatest potential is going to be realized, if our unique genius is going to be shared. And we're excited to say that we've developed a way to systemize and to scale what we call Liberating Genius.
Liberating Genius is not an ideal. It's not a program. It is a system for transformational, epic change. It's a 3-step process that is the same whether we are 5 years old or we are bigger than 5-year-olds. We must accept and own our own genius as fiercely and fully as we did when we were 5. We accelerate our potential by noticing and noting the genius in our presence. And finally, and this is the best finally, we realize not only that we matter, but that we are not alone. That in the 21st century, the smartest person in the room isn't the person standing in front of the room, it is the room. And when we act with and through collective genius, the change we make is epic. We started this movement, this system in classrooms, one teacher at a time, on classroom walls and in classroom hallways. We posted and made prominent the genius in our presence. We literally made library cards and we made appointments with one another. Hey, Isaac, I heard you were awesome at web design. I need you. Can I make an appointment? Hey, Jacob, I heard you rocked as an artist. We really need your genius. This logo needs to happen by next week. And throughout this time, we chose to act with and through our collective genius to tackle the world's most wicked problems, from pollution to poverty, from discrimination to racism. We did not hesitate, and we certainly did not play small. We spent time that started in 6 classrooms, and then it moved to 60 classrooms. Then it moved to 600 classrooms, to 6,000 classrooms, and right now, our world is being changed by tens of thousands of kindergarten through 12th grade students who meet for 1 hour a week, in school and out, appropriately called Genius Hour, and they work together to change our world, to change our world. With their inspiration and with watching them in this process, it helped us understand how we could spread transformation. Their message, their morals, their abilities spread to their parents and to their communities and across every state and continent, and it was breathtaking. And it made us brave enough to take on our most epic challenge, the liberation not only of an individual, not only of a classroom or a school, but an entire city. 6,400 K-12 students together in one room, fully liberated genius. But it wasn't enough. So we asked parents, and we asked business owners, we asked leaders, we asked community to all come join us for these 2 days. And everyone thought we were crazy. They told us straight out, this will never work. There is no way you can bring all these people together. It will fail. And that motivated us even more. We didn't really know what the outcome was going to be after the 2 days, but this wasn't an ideology, this was biology. And we knew it was inevitable that genius would show up. And show up it did. We watched second graders working with seventh graders, and senators and scientists, and statesmen and salesmen, teachers and leaders all come together, leveraging what they had and what they knew toward the problems that mattered most. It was breathtaking. We knew that we had made an impact, a permanent impact, on every student, on every community member, on every human being who got to share in this event with us. When we came into the school the next day and saw this sign created by a student hanging on the principal's door, to change the world, we need every genius, leaving no genius behind. And what this young learner reminded us is that epic change is not an individual act. It is a collective commitment by the entire community, from bus drivers to nurses to mayors to muses. Every individual in a collective attempt to leave the world a little bit better than they first found it.
I know right about now some of you are saying, well, I can see how you could do this in schools or in businesses, but let me tell you, the same process worked equally for us in Afghanistan. When you're building an air force in a war zone, it's terribly complicated. Trust me when I share that with you. And when we looked at the things that we needed more than anything, you can appreciate flying airplanes without maintainers isn't going to get you there. We asked one question: how many maintainers do we have today 1 year ago? And the answer was 0. Easy math to remember. So we set off on a whole new approach. We asked our Afghan partners how they would do maintenance, and their response I'll never forget. They said, no one's asked us that question in 4 years. What we did is they had exactly the solution that they needed, that they could sustain and that they could move forward with. And so we implemented it. And what they did is when they accepted their natural genius, we started to find ways and change the way we were training. We then started to accelerate the genius that was around. And all of a sudden, 0 became 100. And when we started honoring their prior learning, 100 became 200. And then they started to act boldly. They seized this process of what it took to own their Air Force, and they acted out in collective fashion. And I will tell you that today, that 0 in 12 short months has become 550. At the same time, we've managed to find a whole new way that saves you, the U.S. taxpayer, $2 billion over 5 years in the process and accelerates the growth of our Air Force by more than 2 years. So what you see here is the fact liberating genius is an intentional act. It's a duty and a responsibility each and every one of us has. It's a duty and a responsibility to those who have come before us and those who will come after us.
It starts with you, right here, right now, today. You are a genius, and the world needs your contribution. Let me say that again. You are a genius, and the world needs your contribution. You must be brave enough to believe this, and you must be generous enough to share this. It is not only your opportunity to change your life and world, it is the opportunity to change the world. And it is your duty.
If you're not brave enough to do it, then you can't expect those who are looking to you to be any braver themselves. Thank you.